George Floyd's death in Minneapolis under the knee of Derek Chauvin almost a year ago sparked protests across the United States, with widespread calls to end police brutality and systemic racism. According to President Joe Biden, Floyd's death changed minds and mindsets. And in contrast to his predecessor, Biden vowed to make racial equity central to his agenda.
He started off right. He picked a black vice president. He meant business. He made his cabinet is very diversified. Women, multicultural. So he started off right. And that tells me this man is on a mission.
George Floyd's death here had global ramifications, but it also had the effect of mobilizing black voter registration that would go on and have a key impact in November's presidential elections. Less than a week into the job, Biden signed 4 executive actions aimed at increasing racial equity. He's calling on the Senate to pass the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, which would, among other things, ban chokeholds and end qualified immunity, which protects law enforcement officers from most civil lawsuits.
On the right side of history, Joe Biden's on the right side of history. Trump would take a different position. He would side with the police. and Joe Biden sided with the people.
A truckload of fresh fish is delivered to a supermarket in Chicago's Chinatown. Although it looks like business as normal, here, along with many other US cities, hate crimes against Asian Americans have increased. The advocacy group Stop AAPI Hate says it received more than 2,800 reports of hate incidents directed at Asian Americans in the US last year.
What has happened in the past few years with the previous administration is that there's a lot of public rhetoric about, the virus being from China, calling out the Wuhan virus, Kung flu, and so on and so forth, and that exacerbates.
Biden's early executive orders included condemnation of anti-Asian bias and violence, and he added measures to strengthen the administration's response to such racism in March. Biden's also applauded passage of an anti-Asian hate crimes bill by the US Senate. He's expected to sign it into law once it gets through the House of Representatives next month.
Some of these changes that we've seen are definitely positive, but I think that the legislation is symbolic in that it signifies that the administration is supportive, and I think that's encouraging.
Say his name! Say his name!
Dismantling systemic racism is a complex task. Reforming the criminal justice system and fighting voter suppression will require further action and legislation. That's before tackling education and economic disparities. And time may not be on Biden's side.
One of the massive mistakes in the Obama administration had is, one, you can't count on anything past the first 2 years. As political scientists, we've known for decades that more likely than not, and really very likely, that the party in power loses seats in both houses of Congress in the first midterm election.
Few other issues better illustrate the gap between the Biden and Trump administrations than their respective approaches to racial issues. But experts warn the clock is ticking if Biden is to achieve significant change. Dan Williams, CGTN, Minneapolis.